The Vietnam War, a prolonged conflict that reverberated shockwaves through global politics, was not an overnight occurrence. It was a complex tapestry, woven with threads of historical, political, and ideological factors. Let's unravel this intricate fabric to understand the genesis of the war. Vietnam's fight for independence from French colonial rule was the first thread. The Vietnamese people, having endured decades of foreign domination, were eager to reclaim their sovereignty. The second thread was weaved by North Vietnam's aspiration for a unified communist government. They believed in the Marxist-Leninist philosophy of a proletariat state, and sought to extend this ideology to the entire country. The third thread was spun by the United States, a global superpower determined to contain the spread of communism during the Cold War. They viewed Vietnam as a crucial battleground in their ideological war against the Soviet Union. The stage was set for a conflict that would span 2 decades and drastically shape the course of world history. The United States, a powerhouse on the global stage, initially supported South Vietnam in its struggle against the advancing North. However, this support wasn't merely diplomatic or financial. It was a commitment of life and limb, a commitment that would escalate dramatically over the course of the conflict. In 1965, under the leadership of President Lyndon B. Johnson, the United States deployed ground troops to Vietnam. This marked a significant escalation in the American involvement, transforming a regional conflict into a direct military engagement for the United States. The American strategy wasn't simply boots on the ground. The skies over Vietnam roared with the engines of American aircraft, delivering an unprecedented barrage of aerial bombings. Alongside this, the United States also utilized chemical agents, such as defoliants, including the infamous Agent Orange, to destroy vegetation cover and root out guerrillas. The Vietnam War was rapidly evolving into an American war. The Vietnam War was a theater of brutal battles, fought in the dense jungles and rugged terrains of Vietnam. This was a war unlike any other, where the lines between soldier and civilian blurred, and the landscape itself seemed to conspire against the unwary. Here, North Vietnam and the Viet Cong, the communist guerrilla group in South Vietnam, exploited their home turf advantage. These factions employed guerrilla tactics, such as ambushes and surprise attacks, turning the dense vegetation and complex network of tunnels to their advantage. This was a stark contrast to the US's reliance on technological and military superiority. Rather than engaging in open combat, the guerrilla fighters would strike swiftly and then melt back into the jungle, leaving confusion in their wake. This was not warfare as the world knew it. It was a deadly cat-and-mouse game, where the predator and prey constantly switched roles. In this war, traditional battlefield strategies were replaced with a deadly game of hide-and-seek. The Vietnam War, with its high casualties and controversial tactics, ignited massive opposition in the United States and around the world. This opposition wasn't a passive sentiment, but rather a powerful and active movement. Anti-war movements began to take shape, fueled by a growing disillusionment with the war and a desire for peace. These movements were diverse, ranging from peaceful protests to civil disobedience. Thousands of Americans took to the streets, raising their voices against their country's involvement in the conflict. Their chants echoed through the cities, a call for the withdrawal of American troops from Vietnam, and a plea for a diplomatic solution to end the bloodshed. The anti-war movements were not just a domestic phenomenon, they resonated globally, reflecting the widespread discontent with the war. This collective outcry against the war was a pivotal part of the Vietnam War narrative. The war was not just fought on Vietnamese soil but also in the streets of America. As the 70s dawned, the United States began to gradually reduce its involvement in Vietnam. The turning point came in 1973 with the signing of the Paris Peace Accords. This key diplomatic milestone stipulated the withdrawal of American troops from Vietnam, marking the beginning of the end of direct U.S. military engagement. But the war didn't end there. The fighting continued for another 2 years, with the people of Vietnam bearing the brunt of the conflict. In 1975, North Vietnam claimed victory, capturing Saigon and effectively ending the war. The country was unified under a communist government with profound implications for its future. The Vietnam War, a bloody and protracted conflict, left an indelible imprint on both American and Vietnamese societies, shaping foreign policies and international relations for years to come. It was a war that caused millions of casualties, deeply divided American society, and forever changed the course of history.